Hello, good morning. It is Morning Coffee with Steve, episode 221 for Monday, November 18th, 2024. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your daily show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I have my iced coffee in my Minions mug today, because this is one of my larger coffee mugs, and I'm gonna need it today. Because today on my Twitch channel, I am going to be playing the entirety of the single player campaign for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. If you don't know, that is the campaign that I worked on with Raven for accessibility. Raven was specifically tasked to be able to make the campaign, whereas Treyarch was making the multiplayer and with zombies. And so I'm very excited to be able to play the entire thing, because there are a lot of aspects of the campaign that I never touched or that I never knew about. Actually, no, I pretty much touched a lot of the levels. Don't be dirty. I pretty much had hands on with a lot of the levels in the campaign, but as far as the story or what was in the final version, I don't know, because a lot of what I played was very broken and very kind of out of order, so I have no idea what comes up, what's the cinematics. I saw some cinematics, but I didn't see all, and they were all kind of the way that sometimes whenever a game development, whenever they kind of make cinematics, temporary cinematics for a build or something like that, usually it's very storyboard-esque, where it's just it has that kind of feel to it, where it's just little images of drawn of what's happening, or they'll have very crude 3D models kind of acting out whatever, and you have some dialogue in there, but you also have sometimes they even put the cams of the motion capture, if they have actors that are in the motion capture studio and they're recording, they're blocking out, or they're capturing for cinematics. So sometimes they put that reference in the cinematic. So I don't know what a lot of this looks like. I know what a good chunk of it's going to look like, or what's going to be like, but I'm very excited to be able to play that. So I'm going to be playing that on my Twitch channel. So if you're watching this sometime today on November 18th, and I'm still live, go check out twitch.tv/Steve Saylor, and I'll be playing that there, and hopefully I'll be able to finish it in one go. That's the plan for today. Anyway, also today is going to be the announcement for the nominations for the Game Awards happening on December 12th, which is less than a month away. Can't believe that's the case. Also, that means that my birthday is less than a month away, because my birthday is the day after the Game Awards. So that's why I'm excited to go, because normally whenever I go to the Game Awards, my birthday never seems it's always a couple of days after the Game Awards. And the only time I ever spent my birthday in LA, it was when the Game Awards was on a Thursday and my birthday was on a Monday. And I stuck around till the Monday in LA, and I kind of wish I didn't, to a certain degree. I was very happy to be able to, the friends I got to hang out with. That's actually how I got to hang out with for the first time Trisha Hirschberger. If you know her, friend of the show. Trisha's amazing. I always give her props, because she didn't have to do this, chat. We sort of knew each other just through socials, not really a huge amount, but it was we kind of just chatted a little bit, and I remember I messaged her and saying hey, do you want to hang out when I'm in LA, just as kind of hey, as a sort of whatever. And when she found out that I was staying until Monday, and Monday was she's yeah, we could do brunch or whatever on Monday. And I said this is actually that's actually perfect, because this is my birthday. She goes, wow, that's absolutely, we're gonna do this on Monday. Never met her in person before. We went out for brunch, had a great time, just chatted like we were old friends, and it was just it was such a great time. That was kind of the highlight. There was also another I got to hang out with some other friends that night, but the main thing was, the reason why I was kind of somewhat disappointed about it was because majority of the friends that I hung out with at the Game Awards, they had already gone home for the after the Game Awards by the Monday anyway. So it wasn't really, I got to be able to do a big celebration. So I always try to be able to do something around LA now that's even around that birthday, but this time it's the day after. it's the first time it's the day after. So I'm very excited for it for this time around. And we're doing Disneyland. I'm excited for that. A whole bunch of us are going to go to Disneyland, which makes me really excited. Anyway, but I won't be able to talk about the nominations in this episode. I'm going to save that for tomorrow because the nominations come out at noon Eastern, which is just way later than I wanted to be able to put this episode out for Morning Coffee with Steve. So you'll get my reaction to, well, not my first reaction. You're gonna get my sort of thoughts on the nominations, including what will be nominated for the Innovation Accessibility Award tomorrow. I would have done a predictions episode, but I don't think that would have been, not necessarily ethical, but I can say that I'm on the jury. I've always been on the jury for the accessibility category. So I am the one who suggests games to be nominated, and they have a whole jury of specific accessibility specialists that that's all they nominate is for just that category. And then basically that gets collated and voted on, and then that gets whittled down to about 5 nominations for that award. The problem with that is that a lot of times a lot of accessibility specialists are working on games that would have been nominated. So oftentimes we have to nominate games that we can't nominate games that we worked on. So for instance, I could not nominate Black Ops 6 because I worked on it. So there were other games I had to nominate, and I couldn't even nominate Star Wars Outlaws because I worked on it. So it's getting weirder every year that it's the more games we work on, the less we can be able to nominate, which kind of works out in the end. But it does balance out. So I couldn't do predictions because I'm on the jury, so I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to be able to do that. But I will be talking about the nominations because I don't know what the final nominations will be for the accessibility category. I won't know that until noon today. So we'll probably do a reaction probably on stream when that comes out at noon. So all right, long intro short. Let's jump right into the news. If you haven't seen this, I wouldn't necessarily blame you, but I totally understand. Half-Life 2's 20th anniversary was last week, and not only did Valve put out a great 2-hour documentary. Actually, that was created in part with the folks at NoClip, Danny O'Dwyer, his team, because they did a Half-Life anniversary documentary, and Valve hired them to be able to do the one for Half-Life 2 for the 20th. I definitely recommend going watching it. I'll put a link in the show notes for you to be able to watch it. It's a great documentary. It goes through pretty much all of all the development of Half-Life 2 and then beyond, even with the episodes. But this story that I want to talk about is something that was mentioned at the end of the episode in the epilogue, because they had different chapters within the episode. But this is coming from Jordan Midler at VGC. Half-Life 2's anniversary documentary shows off unseen episode 3 footage. So it's not Half-Life 3, it's episode 3. The new documentary, which can be viewed below, which I'll put in the show notes, was produced by Secret Tape, a production arm of the popular crowdfunded documentary studio NoClip. The documentary follows the development of the 2004 PC game and features interviews with the majority of the game's most prominent developers, including Valve boss Gabe Newell. The documentary concludes by discussing why a third episode for Half-Life 2 was announced but never released. The Half-Life 2 team largely credits the need to work on other Valve titles at the time as part of the reason the episode was never released. I think we were 6 months in on it when we moved to Left 4 Dead, said David Spire, an engineer on Half-Life 2. We put down episode 3 to get help to go help Left 4 Dead. By the time we considered going back to episode 3, the argument was made that we missed it. He continued. We could have definitely gone back and spent 2 years to make episode 3. Valve President Gabe Newell said, "My personal failure was being stumped. I couldn't figure out why during doing episode 3 was pushing anything forward." Alongside the documentary, Valve has released a series of updates for Half-Life 2, which is now free to own on Steam for limited time. Definitely go pick it up if you have never played it. I'm actually going to go add this to my library right now. I am going to copy this link, and I'm going to go make sure that if I don't have it in my library, I am going to go to my library and get it. because Half-Life 2 was such a big part of like the Half-Life series was kind of a big part of my life. Let's see. I gotta do a search for it. Don't mind me. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Although it's saying it's Half-Life 2 RTX. Okay, so it's weird. Coming soon. Oh, okay. So I have to just look for Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2. It's free. There we go.
Not that I wish to imply
stop,
you
stop
have
trailer,
been
stop trailer.
sleeping.
There we go. I'm going to add to account. No, I need Steam. Okay, good. I got it. No, now it's wanting me to install Steam. Nope, I'm good. All right, so I got it. Perfect. All right, now jumping back into the story. Where was I? Okay, here we go. Every map in Half-Life 2 has been looked over by Valve level designers to fix long-standing bugs, restore content and features lost to time, and improve the quality of few things like light wave resolution and fog, said Valve. Half-Life 2 now includes the complete Episode 1 and Episode 2 expansions along with the base game. That's the thing I haven't played. I have not played Episode 1 or 2. They're accessible from the main menu, and you will automatically advance to the next expansion after completing each one. Developer commentary for Half-Life 2 has been added to the game on PC alongside Steam Workshop support. Valve has also released videos of the E3 demos from 2002 and 2003 of the game, both of which had largely been lost outside of low-quality recordings. So the things that they showed off, actually, they didn't really talk about, this article doesn't talk about the fact that the unseen episode 3 footage. So you kind of see in the video, or if the video version of this episode, if you're listening to the audio, make sure to go check it out. They actually did have a few things that they were wanted to do. The things that so I did watch the full documentary, and I did watch the whole section of when they talked about the episodes in episode 3. They had this sort of like blob sort of like creature that would sort of like suck up everything that it came in contact with, and it really kind of pushed the physics engine of Half-Life 2 a little bit further. And what I was able to get from the documentary is that they kept trying to go bigger. The fact that episode 2 was twice as big as episode 1. The way that Valve develops games, and this is actually kind of like, this was fascinating to me as someone who's kind of been talking to a lot of devs, who works with a lot of devs in the industry. One of the things that they mentioned was they don't think about story first. And I don't know if this is the same for every game dev, but I was very fascinated by this. They want to be able to, whenever they go into a game, they look at what is the interesting gameplay, what is the thing that they can push the boundary of, and then they just sort of create a story around that. So they said that they worked on it for 6 months. They had about a bunch of different levels that they had created and a bunch of different ideas, but they just never really got to a point where it was enough that they could be able to, like, because they had to go for work for Left 4 Dead, and they essentially had to stop working on it altogether. So it was fascinating. So that, like, it doesn't, like, for them, the story wasn't necessarily the thing that was driving the episodes. It was the gameplay. It was what could they do that topped not only just Half-Life, but Half-Life Episode 1 and Half-Life Episode 2, because they really did expand beyond what the Half-Life was. And so they kept, like, that was the thing that they were focused in on the most. And I kind of find that an interesting approach, because obviously you want the gameplay to be fun. I'm more of a story guy, so I always will like a story aspect of the game, and that's the thing that I gravitate towards. But I have to remember that Half-Life 2 was such a huge leap forward in the tech itself. So I have this other story of Half-Life 2, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But it was such a leap forward for the tech at the time. Because there was one thing that they talked about when they showed off the E3 demo, which showed a bunch of, like, the physics engine of the game, some of the gameplay, and a bit of the story. But they had this one this one guy that you could hear in the documentary, because they overlaid the actual gameplay footage that they showed, and the audio that was being recorded of someone showing off the E3 demo of Half-Life 2, and there was somebody that called out, and this is gonna run on my 486. The 486, for those who don't know, was like a very early graphics card. Like, it was like one of those, is like it was so low powered, essentially. Like, that would be the equivalent to, I don't even know what the equivalent would be like today. It'd be like kind of like running onboard graphics for a game. Like, that's how low powered that card was. But a lot of people were saying that this is something that came up in the documentary, that that they thought that they were running a supercomputer backstage running this game, because it just looked so realistic at the time. The physics engine was so far advanced than anyone had ever seen before, that people were convinced that every computer, like, you need like a super high-end computer in order to be able to run it. Basically, kind of like how it is today. It's like you needed like a 4080. It's basic equipment today. It's like you only can play it on a 4080, an RTX 4080, or a 7900 XT. Shout out to AMD. And they were like, no, this is not the case. So you have to remember, Half-Life 2 was such a huge leap forward in tech that it basically kind of like changed the game for a lot of development for going forward. The game development was not the same. Like, this is why a lot of people like ragdoll physics, I think, was kind of invented at the time because of Half-Life 2, or at least the term ragdoll physics. I may have been a part of something else, but that's the first time I remember hearing about it. And just also just the leap forward in technology it was. Like, you look back on it now, and it still kind of holds up. Yeah, sure, it's an older game, and you can tell it's an older game, but it still holds up today. Like, you play it now, and they are going to be releasing an RTX version, so it's like basically a new updated version of Half-Life 2 that's going to be able to be updated and remastered for RTX cards. That's going to be interesting, but yeah, I just find it, I just find that game so fascinating, the development behind it. So I definitely recommend going to watch the documentary. But then next story that I have here, this is also coming from VGC Chris Scullion. Half-Life 2 has broken its concurrent Steam players record 20 years after release. Valve's surprise update and temporary free giveaway boosted Half-Life 2 Steam numbers. SteamDB reports that the game reached a peak of 52,029 players on Saturday, which then rose to 64,085 concurrent players on Sunday. This is significantly higher than the game has ever reached before, with the highest peak on record being around 16,000 during a community event in August 2021. Other than that, it has only risen over 5,000 concurrents on a rare handful of occasions. SteamDB notes that its tracking service started on September 2008, and that therefore can't account for any stats accrued by Half-Life 2 in its first 4 years of release. And you may be wondering, well, that makes sense, because maybe Steam was created for Half-Life 2. How the BattleNet was or how a PC launcher is used today for specific games by different companies. Like Ubisoft kind of like has their own launcher, Activision has their own launcher, Blizzard has their own launcher, that kind of thing. Steam was created specifically to distribute Half-Life 2, and also to be able to as the launcher for Half-Life 2. So that's when that started. So it was released 2004, I think was when it came out. 2003, 2004. Can't remember off the top of my head. But so that's why they didn't have any stats they could only start back as September 2008. So it'd be very interesting to see what those stats were at the time, but I think that's kind of just lost to time. It's certainly a significant higher count since records began 16 years ago, however. The huge surprise in players comes as the result of a 20th anniversary celebration held by Valve over the weekend, during which time Half-Life 2 was temporarily given away for free at the time of writing. It remains free to claim for another few hours, so go get it if you haven't downloaded it yet. I don't know how long it's going to be available for. Actually, I should probably go take a look and see. How long is it going to be? Does it say? Okay, let's stop the trailer. There we go. I'm looking at the notes. It just basically just shows only the updates. Oh, here we go. From now and through the weekend until November 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific. So you have until 10 a.m. Pacific. So you have oh boy. So you have until 1 p.m. Eastern to grab Half-Life 2 for free before it disappears. Yeah. And then basically, like we said, the surprise 20th anniversary update outside of the episode 1, episode 2 expansions to the base game, new developer commentary, and Half-Life 2 episode 3 footage. Yeah, okay. 2004 release date. Okay. Love that. I mean, Half-Life is such a big part of my life. It was one of the first-person shooter games that I actually finished, and I was scared to finish. Man, Half-Life to me was just a huge like I couldn't believe I was actually playing it at the time. It felt like, because this is before I really even thought about accessibility, so there's a lot of like aspects of the game that I just thought I sucked at. So a lot of the games I played back then was like I just thought I sucked at games. So I remember it took me a while to be able to complete, but I did roll credits on it, and it was such a big experience. And I remember playing Half-Life 2. I think I remember finishing it much later than because I never really started the game and finished it, and kind of like in a pretty short time frame. But I remember I stopped after a while and then came back and finished it. I never played episode 1 or 2. I just never felt I wanted I wanted to go back to it, but it felt like that I was kind of half waiting for maybe a remake or something like that, or a remaster. So now that it's kind of like been remastered, or at least to be updated to be playable on modern consoles, I'm definitely going to jump in and play with those, because I also want to play Half-Life Alyx. I have Half-Life Alyx, and I want to play it. But it's sort of waiting to be able to jump into the VR version of it. However, I've been all over the place with this, y'all. I'm so sorry. I just want, like, Half-Life 2 and Half-Life and Half-Life 2 are kind of like big parts of my life. It's the reason Half-Life 2 is the reason why Steam exists today, and how much it's evolved since then. And it's made Valve a ton of money, like many fortunes over kind of money. And I'm just so happy to be able to see that it's getting its due. And great job on the documentary by Danny O'Dwyer and his team, because it's such a great doc. It goes through so many stories that you did. Like, I didn't know about that there was a lawsuit around surrounding the studio at that time. So again, go check it out. Definitely recommend it. It's a great 2-hour doc, and I didn't spoil even half of the stuff that they kind of talk about. So so there's that. All right, and then next story. This is also coming from Jordan Miller at VGC. The Game Awards confirms that DLC remakes and remasters will be eligible for Game of the Year. Okay, so this is going to probably become moot by the time you watch this or listen to this episode. So I won't go into it fully, but I do want to be able to call it out just before, because I find this interesting. It's going to be fascinating to go back on this tomorrow and see what actually happens with the Game of the Year announcement. So. The Game Awards confirmed that DLC will be eligible for all its award categories ahead of our shortlist being announced on Monday. So it's not just Game of the Year, it's all categories. This Monday, producer Jeff Keighley's annual award show announced the shortlist for each of the categories. And it's in an FAQ posted to the awards show's website. It has confirmed that DLC expansions, remakes, and remasters are all eligible for the shortlist. The website now reads, the Game Awards aims to recognize the best creative and technical work each year, irrespective of the format of that content's release. Expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are eligible in all categories. If the jury deems the new creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination, factors such as the newness of the content and its price value should be taken into consideration. Jury members for the Game Awards were made aware of the inclusion of DLC, remakes, and remasters ahead of submitting their nominations. That is true. I can confirm that. That was part of the email that we got from Jeff. The event's 10th anniversary gala celebration will again take place at its traditional venue of the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, California, and be streamed live on various platforms. The Game Awards 2023 broke the event's viewership record with an estimated 118 million live streams. The 2023 event, which also took place at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, was a major production featuring musical performances, celebrity guests, a host of game reveals, and award show. I don't know why they didn't include that at the end of it. I think people pretty much know what the Game Awards is at this point. Anyway, So yeah, I it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna eat my word. I'm not even gonna say it. I have a feeling that this was specifically put there, and this feature thumbnail kind of proves it, that this is on a lot of people's minds, is that they are expecting that Elden Ring DLCs is going to be nominated. It makes sense in a year where we don't have a huge amount of like runaway hits. We've had a few sort of like hits that like people have been saying, oh, this is definitely going to be game of the year. But I think this is specifically, and I've heard this rumor, this theory that the reason why that Jeff's opening up like this so they may potentially include Elden Ring DLC is because they wanted to make up for that the stupid kid kind of walked up on stage and kind of and took over at the end there during Elden Ring's acceptance speech. I don't know if he was trying to make up for it. I don't think so. I think that's kind of like just a little. That's just kind of like trying to be able to create gossip around making gossip. But I mean, I like this basically feels like it's kind of bending over backwards so that DLCs can be like, because it's the thing that interests me the most was that expansion packs, new game seasons. I mean, I get it, sort of. But game seasons last only like 3 months before they're gone away anyway. So to me, I don't understand why this is included. Like everything, expansion packs, DLCs, remakes, and remasters, I get it. Because remasters, it could have basically included Resident Evil, because we'd started including Resident Evil 4 in that. I remember The Last of Us Part 1 was part of that for the accessibility category, that kind of thing. So the thing that I'm concerned about is this new game seasons. To me, I feel like that everything else here, expansion packs, DLCs, remakes, and remasters, are games that you can play at any given time. Okay, you can purchase it, you can buy the DLC, you can get the DLC for the game, and it's going to be available pretty much anytime. New seasons only last a couple of months before they are revamped and you can't go back and play them again. That's my biggest contention with the new season, with the new game seasons, is that I'm going to go with the wide for this one. I don't think that game seasons should be included. That is my biggest kind of like hot take of it, of this thing. I'm sure Elden Ring DLC, if that's the case, it means that Elden Ring is going to get a bunch of different nominations, and it's probably going to win a bunch of awards for it. I get it. People are always going to love Elden Ring, and I understand that. And it was a big hit. I understand that too. The Shadow of the Earth Tree, understandable. The thing that, again, my hot take is new game seasons should not be included. That should be its own category, because of the nature of everything else is available at any given point to a player. New game seasons, because they have finite end, and then it's not playable ever again. Hopefully it's like it's ongoing. Maybe it's part of an ongoing game sort of category. But I hope that new game seasons aren't included as game of the year or any other like best direction, whatever. Like, sure, I understand. Like, I understand a little bit of that, but I hope that new game seasons are only available in like specific categories and not in the main categories that usually are given to sort of like, you know, like when you see like the best direction or best art direction or best director, like that kind of stuff. Like that, to me, I think should never be, like, new game seasons should never be included. I don't think that the jury would do that, would try to push for a season to be nominated. But that could be interpreted so many different ways. The fact that they say that new game seasons is eligible in any category, that to me is like, no, that should have a caveat to it. Because if it's a game that's only available for a limited time, season is only available for a limited time, that should not, like, that should not incorporate game of the year. And I think it's too broad enough of a mention to just have it be for all categories and not have some sort of structure there, especially with the new game season. I don't know. Am I wrong in thinking this? Let me know in the comments. I'd be very curious to hear what you thought. Yeah. And actually, that's kind of where I'm going to end this episode too, because it's already basically going for about half an hour. Yeah, let me know what you think. Like, what do you like? You may like, I don't know. don't like if you watch this much later after the nominations are announced, don't go spoil it in the comments, because for people who may be just catching up to it, because it's not worth it at that point. But let me know what your thoughts on that specific, like the new, basically the DLC being included in all categories, and then also what are your thoughts on Half-Life 2? Did you ever play Half-Life 2? And if you have never played before, you're interested in going into it now, and all that stuff. That's kind of where I'm going to leave it. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you're watching and listening to this after 10 a.m. Eastern, I will be I'll be currently live on Twitch, and I will be playing the entirety of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 single player campaign. So come and check it out and join the chat. All right, that's it. Take care. Have yourself a great rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.